like if they are here to stalk me and kill me, I just, I feel like I should just let them do it. Like, I mean, I don't want to be rude. Welcome to This Is Jen, episode 41. Going to start with a big announcement. I always mention that I do bonus episodes on Patreon. That is going so well. That has surpassed all of my expectations. And so I am now doing bonus episodes weekly on Patreon. Same price, it's just double the content. I'm not changing any of the pricing, just double the content for free. I used to do these bonus episodes twice a month, and now you can get them once a week. And I have audio only if you just want to listen to a regular podcast version or video level. It's a lot of fun. Patreon.com/thisisjen. Let us begin with, I don't know what it is about my social media use. Are you guys experiencing this? How do I know the people who have the worst takes in the world on just what's going on in our country and on the election? And it's not the people I know well. It's always like that coworker who I work with like years ago and we're still in touch. And it's like, how do you come up with these ideas that you foist upon me on your social media feeds? Shady Ray producing.
We don't need it.
Welcome, Shady Ray. I forgot to introduce Shady.
Hello, guys.
Hi. It's so much. And so I keep saying on this show that I've seen that today's the worst take, No, I have the worst take today on anything that's going on in the country. And I have a duty. I have a duty to talk about why this is stupid and wrong. Brain-meltingly wrong. So wrong that... Okay, you know what? We have to start with a prayer because this is a burden for me. I'm burdened by the bad takes. So, Shady, can you hold your hands up? Could you get one of your hands like on the screen a little bit so that people see that you... So I'd like to welcome Shady's hand to the program. Doing great work. Right, we can do peace sign, we can alternate. Okay, so I'm not Protestant, so I don't know how this works, but I think that it emphasizes the power of God if someone's going like this. God works through hands. Okay. So Lord, Lord, I'm burdened. Lord, give me strength to bear up the burdens of everyone's bad takes. Give me the strength. Wait, I don't think you need to. It's like a sock puppet. Give me the strength. Lord, you can put your hand out. I feel bad. Give me the strength. Lord, let me be ever swift with the mute button when I encounter people whose level of knowledge about the subjects they tweet about is inversely proportional to the amount of tweets they write about it. And Lord, give me an abundance of retweets as I speak only goodness and truth into the world on the Bird app. Thank you, Lord,
Amen.
For these blessings. Amen. Thank you, Shady, for the
Hopefully
that
helps.
very animated prayer hands. So here's what has happened. Someone on social media was talking about these Supreme Court hearings and said that if Amy Coney Barrett were truly a Christian woman and truly a pro-family woman, she would have stayed home with her kids instead of pursuing this career, because that's what good family-oriented Christian women do. So now I have to talk about this. Now I have to address this, preparing myself to talk about this. So these people who perceive that there is a historical Christian precedent for being a stay-at-home mom. Oh, I forgot this. They said, this person actually said, Jesus's mom was a stay-at-home mom. Now, I'm Catholic, and look, if you are going to bring Mama Mary into your hot take, you'd better be right. Because if you are blathering ahistorical nonsense and dragging our Blessed Mother into it, that's when we get violent. Like, we try to be calm people, us Catholics. But that's when the violence starts to break out. Mary was a stay-at-home mom. See, here's the thing. The first century Middle Eastern, first century everything culture, they did not have the economic systems that we do today. Mary wasn't a SAHM, a stay-at-home mom. Joseph wasn't notice we don't put terms on men for this. Joseph, he was a WD, a working dad. You know what they both were? They were both TNDTPs. Try not to die today, parents. That's what everyone was before about 150 years ago. Let's go through it. People, they don't read history. They don't know about the world and you know what it is? This idea that good moms who are super into their children and Christian moms, godly women, that they spend 98% of their waking hours gazing into their children's faces. And really, even that 2%, if they need to go have a bowel movement or something, a good woman would try to at least grab a baby with her to play some blocks games while she's in the toilet. Because that's what good mothers do. All they do 24/7 is just sit on the floor and do crafts with their kids, and then they do the glitter crafts. This is an invention of the middle class. This is an invention of privilege. So let's take a stroll, shall we? Let's take a stroll through history before there were things like middle class. But back in the day, in all of human history, millions of years of human history, up until just a second ago, when you look at the totality of human history, there was the rich, and then there were just people who tried not to die, like the serfs who toiled with the sweat of their brows. They just tried to get it. They'd get a little gourd for their family to share that their lord would give to them. They'd be like, "Thank you, sir. Thank you for the crown. It's a nice gourd. This will feed us for a week." Like, that was life for most people. Like, that was their existence. There wasn't this economic system. Did people imagine that, like, if you were a Christian mom in 1200, like, what, your husband went down to the what? Like, what do you perceive that these husbands did that worked outside of the home? Like, if he was a merchant, he was, like, off on the Silk Road getting murdered by Muslims. Like, I don't know. I mean, like, he wasn't home. But most people were not. The merchant class, like, that was a relatively new thing. Most people they just toiled and they just tried not to die every day. And especially before the Middle Ages. I mean, you go further back in history, especially going back to, like, hunter-gatherer communities, everyone had to work their fingers to the bone, men and women, all day, every day, to just try not to die. Think about this. Here's so many ideas, and you see this a lot in Christian circles. They have this idea of what traditional Christianity looks like, but it's always based on the worldview of someone who lives in a neighborhood called Pleasant River, called Crystal Meadow. It's like none of this applies to people who are not middle class and privileged. So think about this. Let's use the first century of the Middle East. Like, okay, let's go even more recent. Late 1800s. Keep in mind that there weren't refrigerators. So think about what that means for food prep. I think everyone's imagining that like the good Christian woman of old, she would do her freezer prep meals to be frugal and on a budget, and she'd stack them in her freezer. That's what I see the moms on Instagram do, so that must be what good Christian women have always done. They didn't have freezers. They didn't have refrigerators. So think about that. How do you feed your family if you don't have a refrigerator to keep your food from spoiling? Your kids want chicken nuggets. You know what you got to do? You got to step outside and grab Clucky the chicken.
Find that nugget.
And you have to chase him down. And I have these homesteader friends.
I could not.
They kill chickens, but you don't want to know. Look, it's not, you would think that they sing them to sleep and perhaps, give them a whole bunch of Xanax or something. So if I were a homesteader, that's how I'd have to kill my animals. I'd be like, here's a lot of Vicodin. You'll have some fun on the way out. I'm sorry. But that's not what they do. It's gross. It's gross the way they kill these chickens. So your kids want chicken nuggets for dinner. You grab little old Clucky and you do all the gross stuff with. Then you're covered. And you just Thank you for the chicken noises. That's happening. This podcast, it goes to new levels every day. How each one of these episodes doesn't have 10 million views on YouTube, I defy you to find a better podcast. So you're covered in blood and feathers. You're dismembering a dead bird. Just chop. By the way, my kids are super picky eaters. Shady knows this. They're so picky. Can you imagine? It's because I put up with it. This is my fault. If I were one of those old school, the Christian mother of the house, like just tearing chickens apart, and I'm covered in entrails.
Yes.
There's a word for today's show. Entrails. Can you imagine if my kids were like, I don't want this for dinner? This is why there were no This is why there were no. I'm vegan. Like there were no picky eaters back in that day. So the point is, and that's just the protein. If you want a tomato, you're out there you're grabbing tomatoes off the plant and you're getting stung by bugs and wasps, and it's a whole disaster. It's this whole difficult thing. So these people who imagine that stay-at-home moms of the old days, they focused on their kids. No, they didn't. They focused on everyone trying not to die. Just to make breakfast and make lunch and make dinner without refrigeration was an enormously time-consuming process. And then, so why didn't they have refrigerators? Because they didn't have electricity. So think about this. Anything that you are going to do, any kind of chores that you have to get done, which is everything, like everything without modern conveniences, dishwashers, things like that, everything's up to you. It all has to be done before sunset. It's very hard to do things like this, even if you do have lamps and candlelight. It's just not enough light. Try turning off all the lights in your house, having a little tea light next to you to try to do dishes. It's impossible. So you have to get it all done before the sun goes down. And then you don't think of little practical things like without dryers, the only way to dry your clothes is to hang them out. But then think about this. What if it is winter and on a lot of days it's getting below freezing? Well, your husband comes in from the field and is like, where's my jacket that got the pig blood on it when we slaughtered the pig for breakfast the other day? Well, it's a frozen block, honey. It's a frozen block because I didn't calculate correctly how to go dry this. Like women were so unbelievably busy. Canning things. That was the one way that you could kind of preserve things. You could can things, or you could, what do you call when you salt, like make jerky?
You freeze dry stuff? Dry it?
No, not freeze. The freeze dry.
I don't know about
well,
jerky.
It's like, I remember my grandfather, he was born in 1914. They just put a bunch of salt on some meat and stick it in the barn. And they'd be like, that's good food. It cooks
with
it's
the
best
salt
we
and
can
acid.
do.
It's
Life is
cool.
hell, So think about how much work this is before in the pre-electricity woman. She was busy And especially if the more you go back in history, the more daily life was simply a struggle to survive for both men and women. Why is it, if this was such a big deal for women, being a stay-at-home mom, why does this acronym, SAHM, why does it not show up until in the historical record until about 15 years ago, maybe 20 years ago? These sorts of debates about women in the workplace versus women at home and the value of women, this only started like 40, 50, max 60 years ago. Before that, nobody was debating it because moms and dads were TNDTPs, try not to die today parents. That's what everybody was. There was no, there were not these distinctions that we have today. And so what kids do need moms who are happy that they exist, who are happy to have a family, who make their kids a priority, who make their kids feel seen. That's the grain of truth that this nonsense that I have been exposed to is based on. That yes, there's something special about mothers and motherhood. Being a mother is a sacred duty. It absolutely is. But kids are not designed to have hours and hours and hours and hours of their mother's focused attention per day. They need to be cared for. And they need their mothers to be aware of that care, to oversee that care. In the model that we've had for most of human history, and this is, you can look at, throw a dart at the map and choose a random year from history, going back even into millions of years. And pretty much you'll see people living in tribal communities, and you can still see some examples of this today, where the children all run around together, and they are supervised by older children from the village. A lot of times the young men from the village, they're out hunting or whatever with the dads. And so the young girls, the nieces and the nephews, they supervise the younger kids. And then the mothers get together. They have that community. They have that interaction. A woman whose mother grew up in, I think it was rural Thailand, she described that her mom lived in a village like this. And all the women would go down to the river together and they would do their washing and they would chat. And the kids were there. Obviously, the moms were aware of what was going on with their kids. They were supervising it, but they had no time to be on active duty with every single one of their kids. This is the natural order of things. And I would also add, it's healthy for the kids because then they are exposed to all sorts of different personality types. And I used to feel this pressure that I had to be all things to my children. I had to be a role model of strength, but of kindness. I had to show them how to be organized, how to have a little fun occasionally. Like, what am I? You know what? Like, I have multiple personality disorder. I'm every person in the world to these kids. Like, I'm like Medusa with 50 heads. Like, I'm just all things to my kids. No, she had snakes on her head, right?
Yeah.
Well, whatever. Well, my snakes each have, okay, I'm not going to try to make that personality work. The point is, I see this in my own life. So you guys know I've been really big on building a village for our family. So because I realized relatively early on, thank God, that I can't be expected to do everything. I can't be expected to be all things to my kids and to do 12 hours a day of laser-focused attention. And so my kids have had these great role models of different types of women in their lives. Like, for example, Shady is our life emperor. There's not even a title high enough for Shady. She's our life manager. And she has this super creative, like strong but feminine, amazing personality. And so the kids get that example with her. My mother-in-law is the type of woman that one time I walked into her house and she was just screaming a blue streak, like just every word you can imagine. And whoever was on the other line was obviously apologizing. And she was like, well, do better next time. And so she finally hangs up the phone and I said, who was that? She was like, oh, that's the mayor. I still don't know what it was in reference to. And another time there was this, I went to her house and there were these a big yellow jacket nest outside. And I, like the good role model mom I am, I screamed that we're all going to die, knocked over some toddlers on my way back out to the car. I was like, hey, son, every man for themselves around here. I just saw some hornets, so best of luck to you. Go with God. And I'm, locking the kids out of the car. No, I didn't. But luckily they got in the car quickly because I'm just glad I didn't have to make that choice of, hornets flying around, but my kids are trying to get in the car. Like, well, got to be fast, kids. So my mother-in-law, so that's how I react to stinging insects. My mother-in-law just went with a pair of scissors to this. The yellow jacket's nest was like this big. She goes with a pair of scissors and just knocks it down. What? And she stomps on some that are on the ground and they flew away. And then she's like, all right, y'all can come in now. And I was like, didn't you get stung? Like, what just happened? She's like, oh yeah, those suckers. They got me right there and right there.
We're okay.
And like another time, my daughter was scared of this big red wasp, and she picked it up with her bare hand and crushed it.
Oh my gosh!
And just threw it.
What a hoss!
Yeah. Oh, what's a hoss? Whatever a hoss is, she probably is. What is that?
Like a bad guy, like a good guy.
Yeah. She's tough, a hoss.
Real
All right,
tough,
that's a new word here on the program. I'm going to incorporate that more often. And then there's my mom, who's very like orderly and regal, and she got her degree in math. She graduated with honors in math, and she does finance things, and she's very put together and stylish.
Irons her clothes.
Yeah, right. Irons her clothes. Can you imagine? Yeah. So my mom is very like, my mom would hire some people if there were a wasp's nest. I mean, she's not the freak that I am. She wouldn't like lose her mind, but she's not going to be knocking it down with scissors. The point is that my kids have all of this exposure to all of these personality types. Like, if they want to know what it's like to stand up for yourself, I remember a time that the kids and Joe came back from Home Depot. To this day, I don't know what happened, but it was this great moment where Joe, he just walks in, and the kids, no one was speaking. And it was 2:30 in the afternoon. It was Saturday. Joe grabs a bottle of wine, opens it, pours himself a big glass, takes a huge gulp, and turns to me and he says, "Today is not a day that the regional manager of Home Depot will soon forget." And I still don't know what happened.
That's such a Joe sentence.
Yeah. And another time the kids had been out. They went to the grocery store with my mother-in-law. And they came back and they said that PG-13, I know people listen to this podcast with kids in the car. This is a good phrase, though. You should probably turn it up, actually. They said, Mommy, what does it mean if someone is more useless than tits on a boar hog?
Oh,
and they were like little, and I said, well, why do you want to know that? Well, that's what Yaya said to the manager at the grocery store that he is. So, and I am so non-confrontational. Okay, here's how opposite of her I am. A few months ago, I thought that someone was stalking me. They were following me very closely, and I thought it was like, maybe some weird stalker, maybe someone who hates me, like they're trying to follow me to where I live. And so I started driving around, and they were still following me like 5 minutes later, and I started to feel guilty about it. And I actually had the thought, I should just go to my home. I mean, these people obviously want to know where I live so they can kill me, and like, I honestly felt kind of rude. That I was like, well, I'm
wasting their time.
Yeah, I just, like if they are here to stalk me and kill me, I just, I feel like I should just let them do it. Like, I mean, I don't want to be rude. And I seriously, like, it took everything in me not to just drive to my house because I am that much of a people pleaser that I didn't want the murderer to feel like I was being rude and not just going to my house. So I think, and I say all this because I think it is such an important example that we're not, if I had that mentality that I'm supposed to be all things to my kids, they would only know this very spacey, haphazard, insane I say again, spacey, non-confrontational way of doing things, whereas they have Shady, they have Yaya, they have my mom. Before my dad passed away, he was a Green Beret in Special Forces, so he brought so many interesting things to the table. And it's because I let them be my village. Like, my dad took my kids to all of their activities, and my mother-in-law, the kids stayed with her all the time. And yes, like, I would hear stories of like somebody stepped in human feces, and I would just be like, I don't want to know, like, that. Ooh, that bothers me. Like, I wouldn't do things that way. But the point is,
let's hope.
It was not easy to relinquish that idea that I have to just fully control my kids 24/7, and it's all about me, and it's all about my interactions with them. Because I came from this world, and frankly, you see this a lot in the Christian world, that says that good mothers just focus on their kids 24/7. If I had done that, my kids wouldn't have been able to step in human feces at my mother-in-law's house. They wouldn't have had that experience.
Missed opportunity.
Yeah, another time she just there was a scorpion on the couch. She, with her bare hand, she crushed it. Like, and they wouldn't have seen things like that if I'd been like, no, I have to just be staring at my kids 24/7. And actually another example is when my mother-in-law, raised my husband. She was a single mother. She had to work 2 jobs all the time. She did not have the luxury of staying home with him. She was not around that much. And yet, you guys know, he went to Yale, and he went to Columbia Law and Stanford Business School. And he's a really solid emotional guy with a super strong connection to his mom. He's kind of an emotional rock. He had a great upbringing, even though his mom was not there that much, because she couldn't be there that much. But that's the whole thing, kids don't need again, 12 hours a day of their mothers staring at them and doing hands-on activities with them. What they do need is for their mothers to love them, for their mothers to just be happy that they're there, for their moms to make them a top priority, whatever that looks like for that mom in that particular season, and to be taken care of, and have the mother be overseeing that, to be involved and checked in and making sure that whether it's the young girls from the village, or whether it's someone they've hired, or whether it's a relative, that the mom is super checked in and knows what's going on with that situation. That's what kids need. They don't necessarily need the laser focus of their moms 24/7. And I know a lot of women who do that. I would say probably more than half of the women I know who stay home with kids, it's not their life situation that they can have a village, that they can hire help. And so they do end up focusing on their kids 24/7. And that's great too. It's wonderful. Those families work out really, really well. But we need to make sure to not hold that up as some kind of Christian ideal that this is what good Christian women do, because that is absolutely ahistorical. It is a wonderful luxury that mothers today can do that. And no women, Christian women, no women on planet Earth have ever been able to do this. It's not what kids were even designed to need. And you know what I think whenever I see posts like this, because I need, gotta prepare myself to even think about this. I know some women who do this, and they do it a lot. Being a mom is enough for me. And what they mean by that is like they do hands-on stuff with their kids all day, every day, which is lovely. I commend that. I've done that for a while too. Many of my mom friends do that. I love it. But my issue is when you imply that this is the only way to do it. So these moms, they're very active on the gram. They're very active on Facebook. They're very active on social media. And I'm like, I'm sitting there. I saw this woman the other day. She's come after me a few times, so that she's on my radar. And I was stalking her page. And I'm like, you are spending a lot of time on these posts. I am on Instagram too. I know how long it takes to do all the filters on that and to find just the right words. That's 5 hours you could have been spending with your kids. Like, you're spending all this time.
Lies.
You're right. You're spending all this time on it. You're like, join my 56-part e-course on how you are going to burn in hell if you don't spend all your time with your children. Like, how do you do the e-course? How did you find time for this? Where were your children? Where you were putting together this content?
Oh my
It's I always kind of have to wonder, like, what you could have been focusing on your children while you were doing that. Okay, and you know what I see? Here's a note where I have a note, like, maybe don't say this. Should I just skip? I shouldn't.
I feel like you
know.
should.
Okay, so every time, well, Shady twisted my arm. I wasn't going to say this. Every time I've come across these kind of women who are saying these kind of things, every single time, it seems pretty clear that they know that they have something really interesting to contribute to the world. They tend to be highly intelligent. They tend to be pretty well educated. And they tend to just be actually pretty interesting people, like with a real life of the mind. And it really feels like they know that there is something that they should be contributing. And on some level, they probably even know that it'd be good for their family. Like, it would be fun. Their kids would love to see them doing whatever it is, this talent, this blue flame that they have. Like, their husbands would be into it. Their kids would be into it. It'd be a lot of fun. Might even bring in a little extra money. And they know they have it in them. And they even know that they might be able to change, to move the needle on this culture. Like, they might really be able to have an impact, like serve people in a way that has an impact on their wider community or even on the wider world. And they are so terrified of doing this. They're so terrified of putting themselves out there. Because when you put yourself out there, that's when you find out if you really have it. That's when you find out if anyone even wants what you're doing. And Shady, I know you're a musician. Like, how terrifying is it?
It's very painful. And
if
very
you've
terrifying.
never tried to do it, like Shady sometimes will.
It's very personal.
Yeah, like you'll write a song, and you've said, like, that's a scary thing, like, to put it out there.
Yeah, posting it seems like the worst thing, even
Yeah.
though it's like 45 seconds, and then you delete it 20 seconds later and
Right.
then post it again.
Yeah, because what if someone comes up and says, this is no good? You think that's a song? That's trash. Like, it would ruin your day, right? Like, you're like catatonic, right?
Exactly.
Like, I mean, putting yourself out there is a terrifying thing. And then I think the other terrifying thing, again, like I said, is you worry that maybe you don't really have it. Like, in the back of your mind, let's say you think, what's something that would be cool? Like some Cirque du Soleil, like I'm going to be an acrobat.
Flying trapeze.
Yeah, on Instagram. But then you're like, what if I just look like I'm having a spasm with a rope, and like it's not fun, and everyone's like, what is going on here? This isn't Cirque du Soleil
someone
at all.
who knows how to trapeze sees it.
It's like Cirque du trash, like, so, and then you're so terrified of this moment where you're like, I don't have the talent I thought I had, and it's the whole thing is terror. It's just absolute terror. Every single one of us finds an excuse to not put ourselves out there. I have a friend of my husband's the other day was like, yeah, well, I'm just too old, really my time has passed, and I would have tried, but yeah, I can't. He's 37.
What?
Yeah, he's over the hill. He can't. His time is back in yonder years,
Oh, no.
maybe. I mean, we will just make up any excuse. Like, my eyes are too green. Like, I can't. Like, we just make stuff up. And when you're in this culture, it is easy to let motherhood be your reason. And then the great thing about that is you can also cloak it in virtue. Because if you use the other excuses like, I'm too young, I'm too old, I'm too poor, I'm too rich, and people wouldn't understand me, all of these are morally neutral statements. But if you say, I'm too good of a mom to put myself out there, that's what I'm about, well, then you're super virtuous. So
You're almost exposing yourself.
You can cloak your fears in virtue. And I used to do. That's the great thing about being Catholic, Shady. Shady's not Catholic. Let me just tell you that you can be the most terrified shell of a human being and do nothing to have an impact on the culture and do nothing to follow your call. And all you have to do is say that it's because you're a good Catholic, and it's like, presto, I'm a saint. That's what, maybe God called me. Like, let's say you're an amazing, like you do amazing sign language translation, and you really feel God putting it on your heart that someone out there needs you. Maybe you could do some YouTube videos or something. Like, someone needs this. And you just say, no, I'm not worldly. I'm not worldly. That's why. And so you can cloak your fears in virtue. And to be clear, I want to make it very clear, I'm not saying that every time is the time to put yourself out there. For goodness sakes, I had 6 babies in 8 years. I spent many a moon with 3 children in diapers. I mean, years out of my life, years with 3 kids in diapers. I didn't have with the family support system I mentioned. I didn't have that in place for many years. We couldn't hire babysitters more. Like, I had a teen girl come like a couple hours a week. I did not have much help at all, and sometimes I didn't even have that. So yes, those were times when I was doing 24/7 pretty much care for the kids because Joe was working a lot. And I was not, I had a blog and I was doing a little bit of writing on the side, but I was not putting myself out there in any significant way. And that was absolutely the right choice at that time. So I want to make it clear, of course, there are times when we have to rein it in, when it's really not the right call to put yourself out there. But if you're going to go on the gram and talk about how Amy Coney Barrett or anyone else is not a real Christian mother because she did something other than glitter crafts with her children, just make sure you're right on that. And just do a gut check to make sure that you are not taking your own fears, projecting them on other people, and cloaking it all in false virtue. Just a tip. I think good tips.
Great tip.
These are good tips that we learn on this fine program.
Jot that down.
All right. So you may have noticed, for those of you who are watching on video, by which I mean none of you noticed, I am wearing these earrings. For those of you listening on audio, I will describe them. They are diamond studs. Ooh. And I haven't worn these in a while. They're real diamonds. I haven't worn these in a while. So these earrings, they were given to me by my parents for a birthday years ago. It was a special birthday. And so my parents said, we'll give you real diamond earrings. I thought that was very cool. And then when the kids were little, an earring had fallen out, and I'm not a fine jewelry person. Any jewelry you guys ever see me wearing is always from Amazon and cheap. Like the pearls that I wear sometimes, $8 on Amazon. I'm not a jewelry person because I'm too spacey. I would lose that stuff so quickly. So I'm not a fine jewelry person. So it really freaked me out that I lost this, that the earring fell out. So I went and I got some like twist on back things that are super strong. And so I had them on there, and then I couldn't get them off. And I tried, I could not, like, there was nothing. So I would just go, you can kind of clean around like without taking them out. So I would just do that. And I just couldn't quite get around to getting them out, but I finally did. I finally did get these earrings out of my ears 12 years later. 12 years. Oh. 12 years. These earrings were like...
That's got to be a record or something.
It is. I know. It's a record. Yes. And you know what's funny is when I first talked about this, people, I guess they didn't believe me. And so they would go look up YouTube videos and pictures because they're like, there's no way. And I'm thinking, why would I lie about this? I know how many pictures of me are online. Like I'm always like the pictures of me on the internet, they are myriad. They're everywhere. So if you look up a picture of me from the years, so it was 2006 to 2018, and it was January of 2018. And it was like February of 2006. January of 2018, you will see I was wearing diamond stud earrings because they were stuck.
That is too much.
In my ear. And you know what's funny is I have almost never gotten as much media attention as when I put that on Instagram. BuzzFeed wrote about it. I think the Wall Street Journal, they didn't publish it, but they called me about it. That second time that's happened. So this is a thing with me and the WSJ. Like we chat and we do interviews and they decide not to publish them. So
like,
I could
"Thanks."
get a complex about that. So the moral of the story is you have to prioritize in life if you have a lot going on. You know, we were talking earlier about if you're a mom and if you have kids and doing other things and like trying to pursue other things, you have to prioritize ruthlessly. And you have to admit that you're not going to be able to do everything you want to do, like
Take your earrings out.
within a 12-year range. Like, yeah, you have to admit that you just have to let stuff go. Because I used to sit around and think like, well, I'd like to try canning vegetables. This was before I knew who I am. I was too easily influenced by the bloggers I was following. I was like, I'd love to learn Old Norse and pursue the, I don't know, like.
Yeah, Pinterest brain.
Yeah, right. But like I know. I had this idea. I wanted to go get my degree in physics. This was when I've told you before, I used to beef with atheists a lot. And I've always loved physics and I'd love to get a degree in it. And I was like, I will get my PhD in physics just to better argue with these people and just to spite them so that I have like a PhD science credit.
PhD
I might
in
still
petty.
do that. Yeah, we're not, the jury is still out on that. But ultimately, one of the things that you have to do if you feel like you're in that phase where you say, okay, I know this sounds crazy, but I think that I have something that I'm meant to contribute to the world, even though I have my hands kind of full. And maybe you don't even have kids. Maybe you have your hands full with your day job or you're taking care of elderly parents or something like that. One of the things that you will quickly have to do is decide, are you really ready to make this a top priority? Are you really ready to cut out almost everything else? Like I have no pop culture references from about 2008 to 2014 because I was trying to get my writing stuff going and I was taking blogging increasingly seriously. But I had all these little kids. I had 3 kids in diapers. And so I really couldn't watch TV. I couldn't keep up with the shows that were out there. And that was a choice that I had to make. Do I want to keep up with what's going on TV, and I did. I mean, I've caught up now on all of the shows. I'm like, look at the Boardwalk Empire. This is amazing, and it was like out at that time, and I just did not even hear about it. You have to prioritize ruthlessly, and that's why it's worth with this kind of thing. Really asking, what are you meant to do? What are you called to do? What's your mission? Because when you click into that, and that's how I define the whole blue flame concept, is it's not just a hobby. It's not just something that's fun for you. Because people ask me a lot, what is the difference between, I just have a hobby and something that's a blue flame? Well, a hobby could be you just enjoy a little bit of woodworking, but it's not, particularly inspiring. But a blue flame is like, you just feel like, I am meant to do this, and I think that I can have an impact. Maybe I'm going to use my woodworking skills to contribute a little bit for Habitat for Humanity or to do something that helps others, or just sell it but do really great quality work that blesses people's homes. There's a sense of destiny when you discover your blue flame, and I think that helps you prioritize ruthlessly. I think that it helps you cut other things out of your life when you say, this is more than just a hobby. I think I'm meant to do this. And maybe it's something small. Maybe it'll just take an hour a week. I don't mean that it's some grand vision, but when you realize that you're kind of meant to do something, it makes it much easier to just prioritize ruthlessly, which takes us back to my earrings being in my ears for 12 years. I defended. I was busy. I had a lot going on. And then I was like, well, because Joe was like, I could come in with the wire cutters. And I was like, no, a man like going in with, no, I'd end up with like half an ear. There's no way.
No, you need both.
Yeah. And then we had no money. I was like, well, what then if we, and also I felt like I couldn't buy new earrings. So I was like, well, we'll just cut them out and I can't have them repaired. And then I just won't have earrings. And
Might as well
maybe
leave
I can take household objects and just put them in there like paper. I was goth. I mean, I can improvise.
I think I've done that before when
yeah,
I was a
like,
teenager.
Yeah, put paper clips or something in your ear. So that I was overwhelmed by life. And this also goes back to something we talk about on the show. Just accept who you are. And if you're the kind of person that changing your earrings is too much, you just can't.
Can't do it.
For 12 years.
Sorry.
It's just, you're just busy. It just didn't make it to the top of your priority. Accept that. Embrace that. That worked out really well for me. I just think of all the things that I was able to do that I wouldn't have been able to do.
Look at all the internet traction you got.
That's true. You're right. Right. Yeah, that's my claim to fame. That's honestly probably like the main, half the followers I have. I mean, it just exploded.
There you
It was
go.
crazy. But I think that tells you that everyone... what all the commentary was people said, Jen, it's so wonderful that you are such a disaster. Like you are, and then, I mean, it was so gratifying to people when they would Google like Jennifer Fulweiler 2010. And sure enough, there it is. Like I wasn't lying. And they would just be like, wow, she sucks at life. And sometimes I feel like I suck at life too. And that is just super inspiring to me. And yeah, and so I feel like that's everyone kind of senses intuitively that we all have that thing in life that's a bridge too far, but that's really basic for other people. Like other people are getting this done just fine, like no problem. And but for us, it's like we just can't. And so that's my encouragement to you is you probably have that thing that you just cannot. It's a bridge too far.
I have a lot of stuff.
Yeah. And it's okay because we all have that. We all have that thing. Okay, that is a wrap for today's show. Good, solid show. Shady, we set everyone straight, right?
Yes, we did.
We set everyone straight. And again, a reminder, I am now doing weekly episodes on Patreon. Same price, did not touch the pricing at all. It is just double the content for the exact same price. And so the way the Patreon episodes are different. So they're whole new episodes that we do just for that group. And I would say they're more intimate there because it's the stuff that it's like, I don't want this on Google. I just, I don't want randos to be able to just search for this and find me.
Kind of outakey as well.
Yeah, sort of outakey. But I will say, I mean, we plan them. They are fully produced shows, but it's much more informal. No editing out little imperfections and side comments. But it's the kind of stuff that I want to share, but I don't necessarily want searchable on Google. So it's more based on the inside scoop of what is going on in our house and what I'm struggling with that I may or may... You know what it is, Shady? It's like, I've got some real haters. I mean, I have got some of these people, like, I don't know what their fixation is with me, but I have to delete their comments on Instagram all the time. I could seriously post a picture that's like, here's my cat, and they'd be like, you would post a picture of your cat. That's exactly who you are. You're the worst. Like, they just hate me. And anyway, and I guess I just feel like if they're going to know the intimate details of what I'm really struggling with in my personal life, I want them to pay for it.
I agree.
But yeah, so the Patreon, it's This Is Jen. Backstage is the show we do for that. It's very similar to this show, but it's all fresh, new bonus content, and it is just kind of more intimate and more personal. So go sign up for that. That is patreon.com/thisisjen. Shady Ray, thank you so much for producing.
Thank you for
one of
having
these
me.
days, as we move on with this show, when I get my 50 million YouTube followers, we will get a camera.
Yay!
We'll get a camera so that you can finally see Shady. That's going to be one of the big upgrades. Shady, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you to Hallie Lord for all of her behind-the-scenes work. Follow Hallie on Twitter. She is, well, you can, but Instagram, Hallie Lord, HALLIE. And Shady's handle is really difficult. It's like there are underscores. There are lots
shade
of
tree.
We'll have it. It'll be up here. You can see it there. Thank you so much, and we will be back with you soon here on This Is Jen.